everybody, Tiffany here with the Pinocchio Jubilee Library, and thank you for joining us for our Thinkers and Tinkerers. This week you are getting these special kits, and inside your kit is everything you'll need, along with a nice little handout we've created for you to go along with this experiment. So, as the title will give you the clue, we are talking about ocean pollution, spills, and garbage. So, there are 5 top things that pollute the ocean: litter, sewage, ocean mining, oil spills, agricultural runoff, and other toxic chemicals. So, ocean pollution affects about 817 animal species around the world, and that is set to go up by about 23% in 5 years. So it just keeps adding and adding and adding, which is not great. Plastic is the most common ocean pollution, and so that shouldn't be very surprising. As most of you know, it takes a really long time for plastics to break down and degrade. Some studies show up to 400 years. Even items that are considered to be biodegradable do not degrade in the ocean as quickly because of the low temperatures, and their biodegradable rating is based on normal temperatures on land, not in the ocean. And so the majority of the waste that gets into the ocean comes from the land. Not too great. So, what happens when the oceans are polluted? Why is this important? Well, it takes the oxygen content of the water down, which makes it harder for the animals in the ocean to get their oxygen. The effects of toxic waste on marine animals, a failure in the reproductive systems of those animals, which means that they have a hard time making babies, and so their overall population goes down. And especially for animals that are endangered, that if they're having to fight for territory and to be able to keep making more babies, they're just going to go more and more endangered, which is not great. So it also contaminates the food chain. And so what this means is there's something called microplastics. And so they're just little tiny pieces of plastic sometimes. And plankton specifically will eat them because the animals can't tell the difference between food and plastic sometimes. They see it and they think, ooh, yummy, and they gobble it up. But what happens is they can't actually digest the plastic, so they just build up in their stomach over time. And for some animals, it will kill them. They will eat so much plastic, their stomachs will get full of it. It has nowhere to go. They can't get it out of their bodies, and they will end up dying of starvation. It's very sad. For some other animals, they'll eat little pieces of plastic, and then they'll get eaten by a bigger animal, and that one will get eaten by a bigger animal, and that one will get eaten by a bigger animal, and all of the plastic and garbage that they've eaten then become part of the bigger animal. So the levels of plastic in each animal goes up and up and up because they just keep eating the animals that have eaten all these plastics. And some of those animals wind up back on our dinner table, and we end up eating all the chemicals and toxic stuff that they have ingested through the plastics. And then that can have a lot of negative effects on our health as well. So, those are some of the reasons why pollution in our oceans are important. So I'm going to tell you guys a couple of fun facts or interesting facts about ocean pollution. So according to a study done by the University of Georgia, there's about 18 billions of pounds of plastic trash that winds up in the ocean every year. So ocean pollution kills more than 1 million seabirds each year. And that's what I talked about. The birds are another one of the animals that'll eat up the plastic because they can't tell the difference between what's real food and what's not. It's a strange thing to think about, but they are definitely one of the biggest guys that gets killed each year because they consume the plastic and then they end up starving to death. So research estimates that there's about 205 to 520 million pounds of plastic floating around in our oceans. And that includes those microplastics that we talked about earlier that are too small to get filtered out by waste treatment plants. So this is something that I learned. There's something called dead zones in the ocean, and they've been created by so much pollution that makes life in those zones impossible for marine and plant life. And there's about 500 dead zones in the ocean, which combined cover a similar size as the United Kingdom's. So oil spills actually only contribute to 12% of all of the oil in the ocean. And 36% of that oil comes from runoff sources from cities and companies. Let's see. One other fact is that the waste in the ocean takes a long time to decompose. We talked about that. Styrofoam takes 80 years, aluminum takes 200, and plastic is estimated to take up to 400 years. And there is enough plastic in the ocean to circle the Earth 400 times. That is a lot of plastic. So one of the reasons that runoff and chemicals are bad for the ocean is because they induce the growth of algae blooms, which can become toxic to the wildlife, and it's harmful to humans as well. So that's where we'll stop that. I'm going to put a link in the description to a National Geographic's article site that is about a garbage vortex in the ocean. Some people call these things trash heaps or floating trash islands. All right, guys. So in our boxes, I'm going to show you. This container is what you will use for the experiment and everything in it. We have put a little piece of fake fur so that you can try to see what it would be like to help clean off the animals that would get some of these oil spills on them. We've also put in a little thing of feathers. I can't show you mine because my dog ran off with it. You have a container of Dawn dish soap, some sponge, some cocoa powder, some oil. You're going to mix these two together so that it looks like crude oil. And you have your boat, and this is where you will put in your crude oil to float in your water. So your whole bucket's going to get filled up with water, and you have these little marine animals that we've included. Everybody should have about 6 of them, as well as you have a toothbrush, a sponge, some netting, a spoon, and your spoon, your sponge, and your netting is what you'll try to clean up your oil spill with. And on your pages, there's spots there for a cotton ball, sponge, netting, and spoon to write in how much you think oil you got out. So you'll need a little cups of equal size to try to measure out how much oil you're taking out. And then you're going to look at them and compare them. And then you also have little bits and bobs of little junk and plastic pieces that will be your ocean debris. And you also have a little bit of food coloring that you can mix into your water so that you have that nice ocean blue effect. So you're going to pour your oil on here and get all your stuff in your bucket, and he's going to float over and you're going to get him to spill, and then you're going to try to take all of the stuff out. And the Dawn dish soap is for you to try to clean off your animals along with your toothbrush and your fur and your feathers and see what it would be like to help clean those animals up. And try to come up with different ways that you might clean them. Any ideas that you might have that would help. Some invention ideas. And just different ideas of what you could do to help reduce the ocean pollution. Okay, guys, that's all for me for now. Take care, enjoy, and let us know how it goes. Bye for now.